Hey there, Cindy Daychuk with Queen Bee Creations. We're gonna work on a fun little project, making these little decor pillow sachets. This comes courtesy of a video that I saw on the IOD, Iron Orchid Design page, from Peggy from Garden House Studio. She had made these, I thought they were adorable. We're gonna be adding a little bit of scent to them, but they are so cute and so fun that I thought you'd wanna give them a try. So let's get started. Today we're going to be making some little pillow sachets, and to decorate them up we're going to be doing a little bit of fabric stamping. So what I have done is I have taken some drop cloth fabric, and you could use a muslin, any kind of tight weave cotton fabric is going to work for this. And I've cut it up into small little squares. So I'm not looking for these to be huge. But I am looking for them to be not only used in a drawer, maybe to scent your lingerie or some of your clothing, but just even stuffed into little vignette baskets. And so maybe, you know, in time for some of the holidays, think in terms of things that you've got coming up. But all that I've done is I've cut out squares, and I didn't measure. There's no rhyme or reason. They're the size that they are. And so we need two that match. We're gonna be stamping on one, obviously, and then this is gonna be our backing fabric. So I'm just going to lay that down. And what I'm going to be doing is taking various stamps from the IOD collection, and you can go on to queenbeecreationshome.com to be able to check out all the fabulous stamps that they've got. But I'm going to be doing a little bit of masking, and I think this is the first time that I've done some masking with you guys. So I wanted to be able to show you what that is. Some of the newer stamps say that they come with masks. And so you'll be able to see what the heck they're talking about with that. So let's take our little pig. And you can see that he does not really fit onto my fabric. And that's because I'm really only looking at wanting to use part of him. Just want their heads. So what I am going to be doing is wanting to ensure that where I don't want the rest of him running off the side of my fabric, that I take, and for this I just use acetate, not even a clean one, just acetate. And I put that where I want his body to end. So, hang on. Gotta do this backward. So this is part of the thinking process, because you wanna lay it down the way that you're stamping. And that becomes especially important if you're ever doing letters, because you're gonna be doing them backward. All right, so that's going to work. Now for this, I'm not looking at doing anything super colorful. So I just want it nice and simple in terms of the color. So I've got a little bit of Old School, which is a dark gray from DIY. And I'm doing this with paints as opposed to the ink. You've probably seen me stamp pillow designs using the ink before. I just want this a little bit darker. So I'm gonna be stamping with paint. Now, the other color that I'm mixing in, because I thought it would be kind of nice, is I've got some of the Rust-Oleum metallic. So this one happens to be like a bronze color. And I'm going to put a dollop of that in with my gray. Just because I haven't done that before. But one of those things that kind of seems like it would work in my head. But you could use straight paint. And for this, I am going to be using a roller. I want to be able to get my paint onto my stamp, but I don't want it to be super heavy. If I had a brush, it would go down into all of the nooks and crannies. And so I'm looking at wanting to just kind of roll that color on so that I get it on top of the stamp and not down into all of the little grooves. All right, so I'm just rolling this. I have a paper plate here. And I'm just gonna roll this over the top. And again, because I have my mask down, I don't have to worry about how far I take it over. Pick it up, line them up, and put them down. Now, if you get too much paint on this, it will look a little splotchy. So we'll see. Usually the crisper look comes from using the decor ink, I will say, but we get maybe a slightly heavier look into fabric when we do it with paint. And I usually use ink, so I wanted to try the paint. And I didn't blend my two tones of color together so that I might get a little bit more of a two-tone effect. All right, there's my little pig. Now, he looks a little lost and lonely on there, but that's because we're gonna do some edging. And let me see. There we go. I've got a stamp here that you can see has some nice straight edges. So I'm gonna pull one off. Just this bottom one here. And I'm just gonna create a bit of a border. So to do that, I'm just gonna take my paint and roll it on. You'll start to get a feel as you do this for how much paint is a good amount, how much is too much. And I'm gonna put this up a little bit because I've got my sewing line, obviously. And I'm doing top and bottom. And then we're gonna mask again when we do the sides. Okay, so when I go to do the side, I don't want to stamp over top of the stamps that I just did. So I'm going to take 2 pieces of acetate and I'm going to block this off again. So mask it off. Paint. Whoops. So that I can stamp right over top, but I'm not going to go over top of my design. And that's what that extra plastic does for you, is it safeguards the pattern that you've already put down so that you don't double stamp. Right, so you can see how that border stops at each of those lines. So I get a nice straight edge there, and I didn't have to worry about over stamping and marring that design in any way. And there we go. So that's gonna be my cute little pillow. And when I go to sew, I'm just going to put my backing fabric right on top of that. I don't want to do it yet because it's still a little bit wet. And I'm going to sew around most of those edges and leaving about an inch, inch and a half gap, because that's what we're going to use to be able to stuff it. And I will come back and show you the stuffing part and how we're going to set up those sachets. But the process here is just that simple, and just that. The step after that is I am going to take them home, because that's where my sewing machine is, and I'm going to iron them all. Cover it with parchment paper, iron it. That's going to heat set that paint. And I'm going to sew them together, and then we're going to be back together. For the final steps in our little mini pillow sachets, and we've got them flattened out, ironed nicely. We've got our big opening here, and what I like to do rather than just stuff them is add a little bit of the lavender. So I have here, this is ½ pound, which is lots. So this is French lavender. It's pretty potent stuff. So you would not fill this whole sachet up with the lavender. It would be pretty strong, pretty overpowering. So I just put 2 little teaspoons in there, kind of shake it around, and then the rest is going to be polyfill stuffing. It is more than enough to be able to add some scent to your drawers, or just be able to use these little pillows in a vignette. It just adds a little bit of something rather than just having them stuffed. And it makes it, if you're gifting these, it makes it a lot cuter and a little bit nicer that you've got a little bit of scent. So whatever, I love lavender. It's good for migraines, and I suffer from migraines. So if it's not a scent that you like, then obviously don't use it. You could add some orange blossoms, or you could add some essential oils on some of the stuffing if you wanted instead. So you just add enough polyfill to be able to get it stuffed enough for you. And here you could hand sew this closed. I hate hand sewing. really, I was trying to think of a different way of putting it in terms of I'm lazy, and it's probably I'm lazy too, but really it comes down to I hate hand sewing and I go easy. So I'm gluing it. And this was a fairly big opening, so I'm gonna do it in a little bit of stages here. And I wait a second so it's not piping hot. And then I'm just gonna tack it down and hold it. If you get some of the glue blobbing out, just wipe it away. But I just kind of hold that closed. And then now I have a slightly more manageable gap here that I could just glue down. Now, one of the things that I did do when I ironed this was I ironed those little flaps where the seam is going to be, I ironed them down flat so that when I would go to seal this, I already had kind of the edging for it. It's a little overstuffed, so I got a lot of my stuffing kind of sticking out of this one. But I can just take scissors and trim off a little bit of the stuffing that sticks out. That's okay. And then look how cute those look. This is the little butterfly one. I've got a lamb bunny. This is the little pig that we did. This is the chicken head that we did. And I've just got one more, which is the little dragonfly. Find my hole. And we just do the same thing. Now, if you find that you didn't leave a big enough hole, I just made like a little paper cone with an opening. And for some of them, I was having to add the lavender this way. So let me show you that. I just added my scoops to it, and it doesn't like to necessarily follow through. So I just take the end of the spoon and I just kind of push it down into the opening. That last one that I did had a really large opening. This one would have been okay, but it's just easier than getting all of the little lavender bud heads all over your table. It would smell lovely, but it'll be a mess. So, nice and simple, and I love little simple things, but I love these as a decor element. If you were doing a tray, maybe with Easter coming up, maybe you were doing having a tray as a centerpiece with some of your decorative bunnies and maybe some greenery, stuffing a couple of these pillows down in around it just as a little bit of a decor or decorative item would be cute. Again, because they're scented, you can put them into your drawers, maybe like a lingerie drawer to be able to scent some of your lingerie or your clothing, or if you have blankets that you're putting into a blanket box, then maybe for storage, maybe you're going to put a couple of these sachets in there just to be able to keep them from smelling too musty. So lots of good little uses. I think that they are cute as well. You could sew them up with a little ribbon loop coming out of one corner or one end, and be able to hang them from a little gift if you were gifting an item. And again, not necessarily just for Easter, but certainly, and they do up extremely cute. We used, I used the butterfly stamp from IOD and the little farm animal stamp from IOD, the edging. There are a number of stamps that have straight edging that you could just steal and you could use. There are some that have the wreaths, and you could do kind of little arching wreaths around it. So you could do edging with just about any of the stamps, just taking a portion of it, doing the masking like I showed you. give this a try. I think that you're gonna find that it's a nice, fun, cute way of being able to do a little decorative item. You could certainly do it colors. I did my monochromatic just so that it kind of fit in with whatever decor I was doing. But drop me a pic if you give it a try. I'd love to see what you do. Until next time, I'm Cindy Daychek with Queen Bee Creations. See you soon.